Welcome to one more session. Now today we do have a question. It says draw a flow chart that prints sum of the first 10 odd numbers. Now again once more we are having the similar program once that says first 10 odd numbers, but now this is the condition that's been changed. It says but a program should check for each number whether it's odd or even. That means we need to start with the first odd number, that is 1, but now it should check whether it's odd or not. Yeah, it's odd, so we should be having the sum for this. Then it should be coming to 2. Is it odd? No, it's not odd. So the counter of the loop should not be incremented this time. The sum should not be added up this time. Then it should come directly towards 3. 3 is an odd number, so the sum should be added up as well, or you might say the total should be done, as well as the counter should be incremented by one more time as well. So this is actually known, or this is the thing that you might say that it is, you are gonna check for each and every number that whether it is odd or not. And it says the first 10 odd numbers, so this is like a condition as well, that the program should only execute for the 10 times. That means it will only have a counter incrementation in the case if it's an odd number. If it's an even number, you do not need to have the counter incrementation over here. That means it's not a count control loop, it's a conditional loop. Why it is a conditional loop? Because we do have a condition. If it's an odd number, only in that case you need to increment the loop. Otherwise you do not need to increment the loop. If I'm gonna place the for loop right over here, so for loop says that each and every time the program is executed, the loop will be incremented by 1. So I cannot apply the for loop over here. No, I need to apply the conditional loop over here. Now it completely depends up to me that what type of the conditional loop can I apply over here. Either I'm going for the pre-condition loop, or either I'm going to go for the post-condition loop. So that will be complete depending on the developer or the programmer, that what type of the, or what sort of the loop he or she is going to utilize. So first of all, let's have a look on the flowchart for this thing, and then we will be moving towards the pseudocode for this. So it says start. Once again, I don't know why I made this mistake. So let's first of all correct this down. Okay, so start. Just after the start, I have declared few of the variables over here. Num, that's been assigned with the value of 1. Sum, that's been assigned with the value of 0, the base value. Count, that's been assigned with the value of 1 once again. Now it says you need to check for each value. So we do have a num1, that means it's the first value. Now we are going to check it out whether it's odd or not. So what was the condition to check out for the number whether it is odd or not? So the condition was num mod 2. That means any number if it's divided by 2 and we are getting the remainder as a 0. So if we are getting remainder as a 0, that means it's an even number, and if we are not getting remainder as a 0, that means it's not equal to the 0. Over here, not equal to is represented in this manner. Okay, so not equal to 0, that means it will be odd number. So I just said if num mod 2 equals to 0, that means it's an even number, it's a yes. So it will be moving this side. What we will be doing this side, I'm just going to explain you. But right now we are having 1. So 1 mod 2 equals to 0. No, it's not equal to 0. So we will be having a sum plus num, and the counter will be incremented by 1 this time. Now it says if count is less than or equal to 10. Is that so? Yes, it is. So coming up, now we will be checking for the next number. Now the number will be incremented by 1. In the previous program, what we were doing, we were just after this sum, we were adding up the we were incrementing the number by 2. But now this time we need to increment, either it's an odd number or either it's an even number. We need to increment the number by 1 each time, so that it could be doing, or it could be checking for the other number. So num plus 1, and then that means now the value for num is 2. So it says for 2, it says if num mod 2 equals to 0. If it's equals to 0, if it is 0, that means it's an even number. That means you do not need to go for the sum, you do not need to go for the count as well. So you will be directly going towards the num incremented by 1. That means this 2 will be converted to a 3. Now 3 will be checked. So this is how you are going to do for that. If it's a even number, you won't be going to the sum and the count. You will be directly coming to the incrementation part. But if it's a odd number, so you will be doing with the sum, you will be incrementing the count, you will be checking for the count as well, and then you will be coming towards the incrementation of the num. I forgot to tell you guys that in the last question as well, that if I place some count as a 0, so what will be the difference? The only difference will be num less than or equal to 9. It will be decremented by 1. Just the thing is that nothing apart from that, that was the only difference. And finally we do have an output sum, and finally and. So this is how we do utilize, or we are going to construct this program that will be checking for each and every value, whether is it odd or is it even. So you might know this one, or you might have witnessed for this thing, that this program is actually a hybrid program that is checking. That means a selection is done as well as the loop is done over here as well. So both the things are done simultaneously. So if both of the things are done simultaneously, so it is known as the hybrid program. And do remember that only the hybrid programs, or mostly, not only, mostly the hybrid programs are the part of your paper, now how are we gonna do with the pseudocode for this one? So before going towards the pseudocode, we will be learning about the two different types of the loops. Okay, now we do have the conditional loop. So for the conditional loop, we do have the precondition and the post-condition. So precondition means that the condition, if the condition is true, then only the body of the loop, that means only the statements that are dependent to that particular loop, will be executed if the condition is true. That means it's a while, do, and while loop. While, then the condition, that means for example condition is if num mod 2 equals not equal to 0, so the statement sum will be incremented, and then and while. The repeat condition says repeat statement, and then it will be checking for the condition. So do remember, repeat condition is the one if even though you do not need to execute the loop, even though it will be executed at least once. Why it is executed at least once? Just because of the reason, because it will be checking the condition at the end. It says repeat statements and then it says condition. Oh sorry, I do not need to execute, but even though it has been executed at least once. But when it comes to the while or to the precondition loop, so the precondition loop says it won't be executed if the condition is false. So it is only executed if the condition is true. So for the true it will be executed, for the false it won't be executed. Now how are we gonna do this program that we just have studied about, that we are gonna check for each and every number whether it is odd or not, and if it's odd so only the incrementation is done. So how are we gonna do this similar program with both type of the loops? So I have created this similar program simultaneously with both type of the loops. So what will be the difference? Let's see. It says declare num, sum, count, all of them are the integer data type. I have just initialized them. Sum was 0, num was 1, count was 1 as well. Repeat. Now this is the post condition and this is the precondition. So the post condition says repeat. What do I need to repeat? I need to repeat if num mod 2 not equal to 0. If num mod 2 is not equal to 0. Okay, now the repeat says, what does that repeat says? Repeat actually says over here, it says if num mod 2 not equal to the 0. That means if the number is odd, because mod 2 equals to 0 means it was an even, but mod 2 not equal to 0 means that it's an odd number. So we were supposed to add and count only in the condition if the number was odd. So if it's odd, so it says sum will be assigned with the value sum plus num, count will be assigned with the value count plus 1. And if, now again we have indented over here, because these two conditions will be executed only if the if condition is executed, while the if condition will be executed only if the repeat loop is executed. Then num will be having an incrementation of num plus 1. Okay, now I have done that out of the loop, because either this condition is fulfilled or either it is not fulfilled. Either it's an odd number or either it's an even number. In both of the cases, num will be incremented by 1. And it says until count equals to 11, because the base was count 1 and count was only incremented if the number was odd. So it says until the count equals to 11. So if the count is 11, as soon as the count is 11, the loop is gonna stop and we will be saying output sum of the two, or sum of the odd numbers is, and finally sum whatever the value of the sum is given to us. Whereas if I'm gonna do the similar program with the precondition loop, so it will be a while, do, and while loop. Now how I'm gonna do that? This declaration part remains same, the statement parts remain same. That means the things like if condition, sum, count, and if num, all the things will remain same, only the loop structure will be changed. How? It says if while count is less than or equal to 10, for the very first time, yes, the value for the count is 1, so it is less than 10. So if it is less than 10, what does it say? It says now it will be checking out if the num is odd, so sum will be sum plus num, count will be count plus 1, and if in both of the conditions either it's odd or either it's even, in both of the conditions num will be incremented by 1. And then finally we do have and while. What do we have? And while. Now this and while actually checks whether the count is done, or that means the count has been fulfilled or not, and we will be having finally sum of the odd numbers is sum, that means an output statement. So this was how this is done with the post conditions and the precondition, that means with the conditional looping. So that was all for this session. Thank you so much guys.